Hey, Akira, I'm glad you asked me, what's necessary to show on a certain problem because it's not always clear how much detail I want you to show or how little detail I want you to show. But for a problem like this, there's a very specific sequence I'd be looking for. If you follow these steps that I go through in the video, I don't know if you watched the video for this or not. It would be, and if you give me 1 second, I'll tell you where it is. I can show you real quick. Let's see, modules. The video for this particular type of problem, if you haven't watched it, you may have already watched it, is in section 2.7. And finding the inverse of a function, part 1, is probably in this video. I'm not going to play it all. In fact, I'll mute it. I'm just going to zip through it to see where it ends. Let's see. There's a part 2. It might just be a second example, but yeah. But like in this particular video, finding the inverse of a function, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. These are the types of steps that I would like for you to show on your test. So for example, for this one, without going back to that list, because you can go watch it yourself, the first thing I like to see is, all right, step 1 is to change the function to a y. Step 2 is to switch the x and y. And then step 3 is, step 3 is to solve for the y. So we would subtract 1 from both sides. We would get x minus 1 is equal to y. And then step 4 is to call that answer your inverse function. For this particular type of problem, 3 of the 4 steps are really easy. The first step, the second step, and the last step. It's the third step that takes up the most space. But this is an example of what I'm looking for when you're working a problem on your test. Almost every question in the homework is demonstrated in some capacity in the videos. If you're not sure what to show, you can do what you just did, which is to send me a text and ask me. And thank you for sending the picture of the question. Or you can just send me it, and I can do one of two things. I can make a video like this, or I can just reply with a text and say, go watch this particular video because it shows you exactly what you want. So I hope this answered your question about the ones that you showed me. And I'll admit that this example is really kind of simple. I know you didn't ask it, but I'm just going to show you one more example real quick that would be a little bit more involved. If we had something like g of x equals this fraction, 2x minus 5 over 3, and the question was to find the inverse function. And again, I'm going through the steps that are talked about in the video that I alluded to. So I'm not writing down all those words and everything. I'm just doing them. But the first step says take out the function and replace it with the y. The second step says to switch out the x's and y's. So you get x equals 2y minus 5 over 3. But your third step, which is to solve for x, and I am going to write that step. This is where this type of problem usually slows down because, I'm sorry, not solve for x, solve for y. But this is where I'd want you to show steps like the following. Multiply both sides by 3 because it lets you cancel the 3 and gets the y closer to being by itself. And now we're here, and then add 5 to both sides. And it would be okay if you just wrote plus 5 here and then didn't write the 5 on the other side. Moves that are that small, it's okay to not actually show the individual steps, but the results of them. And of course, the last step here to get the y by itself would be to divide everything by 2. So if we divided the left side by 2 and then cancel the 2 on the right, we would get that. And then the fourth step would be to say, well, that's my answer. My inverse function is 3x plus 5 over 2. So if you're not sure what steps I want you to show me, you can ask me, but chances are I demonstrated it somewhere inside of one of the instructional videos.